Cottonmouth Media.
There are cannabis chefs or people that are cooking with cannabis now for other people, where they're taking an ounce of cannabis or more than an ounce and they're decarboxylating, infusing it into the oil or butter, using it in their food, delivering it to their guests in the food, and people come up and say, wow, that was really fun. How much THC did I just ingest? And the chef is shrugging their shoulders saying, I don't know. I have no idea. And I think that that's irresponsible.
The Bongcast.
Baby girl, you're so damn fine, though. Wanna know if I can hit it from behind, though. I'm sipping on you like some fine wine, though. When it's over.
Here we go. Mustache is coming in nicely. 2 weeks in. Yeah. No, today's exactly 2 weeks. Facial hair game. Check. Definitely gotta start this off with a little boski. Respect, buddy. Down. Goodbye. My bong is kind of clogged. Fun fact. Yo, cannabis lovers, welcome to the Bongcast, a podcast about people in cannabis. My name is Matt Meredith, and I am your host, your guide. Whatever you want me to be, really. And on the second episode of the second season of the Bongcast, I got to hang out with Ann and Ivan of Mangia Ghanja. They are private chefs based in San Diego, California, that specialize in cannabis-infused cuisine. I met them on Valentine's Day in 2018, so almost 2 years ago, which is pretty exciting. And I've remained friends with them ever since. We've worked together a few times, and I'm excited to be able to share their story because they're amazing people. We talk about how they got into the cannabis industry and how they originally started their business, Mangia Ghanja. We talk about how they put on private events and help people with their cooking. And we talk about the nuances and responsibilities around infusing food with cannabis, as well as how they helped some people get off of opioids. Without any further ado, please enjoy Mangia Ghanja on the Bongcast.
So I'm Ivan.
And I'm Ann.
And we are Mangia Ghanja.
So what do you guys do in the cannabis industry?
We are private chefs, and we microdose and infuse our food with cannabis. So we're normalizing cannabis through everyday delicious food.
Yeah, we're trying to show people how we can get cannabis in, your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between. I think that people get really stuck on it has to be an edible. And we cook with cannabis in every single thing that we do. And it turns out fantastic. And so we're getting a lot of people interested in what we're doing because we do it a little bit differently in that we microdose it.
Yeah. So we put a little bit of cannabis in everything that we make. And so what that allows you to do is maintain this level of comfort and feeling good, almost like a euphoric feeling, a sense of well-being over the course of the day through the microdosing, but without having that high. So you're feeling very functional, but you're just maintaining a sense of well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm for people who are listening that haven't known, but I've definitely been working with Ann and Ivan for a long time. I've been working with you guys for a long time, and your events definitely are like really special. Like every time I go, everyone is talking about it very authentically, and honestly, not every event in the cannabis space, like most events, are not like that. It's a lot of commercialization that's happening right now, and so it's like a lot of new business people, and so it's not always thoughtful, but you guys definitely are. But like, for good reasons, obviously, but like, why did you guys kind of start to get involved in cannabis?
Well, I think that's a long story. I'll let Ivan address it, but I think you're right. We're doing it a little bit differently in that we're on the older side of starting a brand new business, but we're here for a lot of different reasons that are different from other people, and one of them is that differentiates us is that we're not looking to make a ton of money on it and jump on that green rush, as they call it. I think we're here because we're passionate, and I think that just translates in everything that we do.
Yeah. So how we got to where we are, about 3 years ago, I had a stroke, and after I had the stroke, both of my hands felt like they had shards of broken glass in them. They were very painful, and I was working in a kitchen The next morning I woke up, had a stroke, couldn't use my hands, couldn't hold a knife. And this went on for about 3 months. And our kids are in their 20s, kept saying, you got to look at CBD or cannabis as a way to be able to heal. And I thought back to the days when I was smoking pot back in the 70s, and a lot of my friends really embraced it back then, and I would smoke it and want to go to sleep. So it wasn't something that I felt, gee, I want to embrace this because I just won't be functional. But I looked at CBD and I infused, I tried some tincture, I tried some edibles, and it seemed to help. The pain started to go away, and the healing was very, very fast. So we thought maybe we're onto something here. So we looked at THC. We thought, well, we tried a couple edibles with the THC, and that got us really high and really couch locked, and we didn't like that so much. And then we found that there were different types of edibles that we could take. That some made us really giggly and maybe a little bit paranoid. And so after a little bit of trial and error, we found a Rick Simpson or a full spectrum oil that we used to infuse our food, and we microdosed with 2 or 3 milligrams. And the effect that we were getting was this very healthy, very medicinal side of the house, where we were able to maintain this level of comfort, of feeling good. The pain was going away in my hands. And we thought, wow, we've married this beautiful plant with culinary, and why not bring it to the world? And so that's where Mangia Ghanja was born.
I think we started out by doing a few meals and dinners and things with just friends and family, and then people said, wow, this is amazing. And and our kids said, you just throw a few posts up on Instagram. And so people started reaching out to us, and it started to take off faster than we expected. We just saw the benefits within our own house, and all of a sudden, because we were infusing our food exactly how we like to eat it, really healthy, we have high standards with the ingredients that we use, and I think that people said, you're really onto something and you got to do more. So we explored doing dinners a little bit bigger, and then we started doing events, and people really wanted to come and see what things were all about because they had heard a lot of good things. So I think that one of the other things that sets us apart is when people come to us and say, I've got this ailment or I've got this dietary restriction, we never find that to be something that we can't do or too challenging or to turn it down. If somebody brings us an old recipe of their grandmother's and say, can you do something like this? We love those kinds of requests. Mm-hmm. I think that is where, can you put cannabis in my grandmother's old, apple pie or whatever, I mean, how great is that? And so we love that. We love the interaction. We love customizing the food. We love making it from scratch. And I think it's just a little bit different.
Why did you guys, you're talking about it's not about the money and you love to see people's reactions, but why turn it into a business and try to do something, that is in such a now competitive environment and in a very difficult logistically with the laws? Why try to do it?
Well, I think that for me, I think for both of us, speaking for Ann as well, I think that for us, it's about normalizing cannabis, to take the stigma of a gateway drug or something that's going to make you couch locked, take away the stigma that's been created for tens of years around cannabis, and allow people to see that it is okay, that it can be used medicinally, it can be used recreationally, it can be used in every aspect of your life to gain better health. And when you are feeling better, people act better, and maybe that creates a larger amount of kindness. And we're from the 60s, and although we didn't participate in cannabis back then, when I was smoking, it was about passing it around. It was very communal. I think the world needs a lot more community right now.
Right, and I think we feel that we've gotten such a great reaction and a little unexpected that we're on the older side of this cannabis interest and what's happening in the cannabis community. And I think that we feel that it's our job to help right now educate and help people get more familiar with it. There's a lot of young people that are excited about this and doing some wonderful things, but when people come across us, I think they stop and they hear our story and why would you do that, in your retirement years? And it makes us feel like we still have a lot to do and that we want to, and that people are interested in our story and what we have to offer.
So what's the goal then with all that, right? You have this vision and this feeling and this approval from, your regional supporters and community?
Well, I think that just means it needs to stretch to the world. We have opportunities to get this out to other countries that are open to cannabis too. Not our own little small community, but I think we can make a impact in other countries.
Yeah. So people have asked us, what would you say to somebody? Wouldn't say that. What would you say to someone who says, I'm not interested, I'm not open to this? I'd say, I get it. I understand. We were there. If you took us to the day before I had my stroke and someone said, hey, you interested in smoking cannabis? I think we would probably say, yeah, we've been there, done that, did that, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and wasn't that impressed with it. But things are different now. The fact that you don't have to smoke pot, you can ingest it in food. The fact that you don't have to do it for the sole purpose of getting high. And as a lot of people, when they get high, they kind of check out. At least that's the way it was, back in my day. It was get high and just party, or get high and be irresponsible. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can be an acceptable part of your daily life to feel better, to have a greater sense of well-being, to feel more community within your environment, within your local, as well as your bigger picture scene.
And still be super productive, running companies and doing everything that you would and more with cannabis in your life on a daily basis. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it in the last few years ourselves. Right. I'm serious, and I think that's where we can make a difference. Is because a lot of people who knew us before, we were in the traditional careers, and they probably would take a pause and say, "Wow, you totally switched gears." Yeah, but here's why. And then when we get them to hear our story, like, aha. That makes sense. You guys are doing what you need to do, and I feel the passion just sitting here talking with you. And people always walk away and say, "That was even better than I expected."
Right.
And when they try our food, it's amazing.
Why do you guys personally use cannabis?
We do in our food.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we will smoke it, or we use a vape, but. Not so much.
Or like in general, like cannabinoids, like CBD. Do you guys take CBD?
Oh yeah,
too?
I take CBD out. We take it on a regular basis. That's just for me. I have seen a lot of benefits personally with CBD. We add THC, other ways other than our food for sure. So, but we wouldn't consider ourselves heavy consumers.
Right.
Yeah.
And we aren't about, I know a lot of people will. They'll pair terpenes with food, or they'll pair certain strains of cannabis with food, like a sommelier will pair wine with food. And that's not who we are, and that's not what we do. We use a full spectrum cannabis oil, and so what that means, full spectrum, is that you're getting all of the properties of the cannabis plant, which provides you the full spectrum of all of the medicinal properties. So the terpenes are there, the CBD is there, the THC is there, all of the different varieties of the CBD and THC.
You're not just getting like a 99% THC out of your oil.
Correct. Right. So you're getting that full spectrum you're not just getting yellow, but you're getting that full rainbow of colors.
And then you're also getting all of the other cannabinoids that we don't even really know about
Right.
exactly what they're
Exactly.
doing.
Right.
And you're probably
And-
getting positive effects from that.
Right. And you know, anything out of moderation can be really bad for you. Too much water, your body can drown. You know, too much milk can be horrible for you. So you take it in moderation, and the moderation is the microdosing for us. And if you're between 1 and 5 milligrams of THC, you're really looking at the medicinal side of infusing with the food. And so you're really just going to be enjoying the benefits of the beauty of the plant, as opposed to experiencing that psychoactive effect.
Right. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, throughout a meal, though, if some people do like that psychoactive effect. And if you were to sit down at a meal, we will put a little in each and every part of our meal, so that if you want to have that sort of, a nice gradual high, psychoactive high, you could definitely achieve that through our food.
Right.
If you are one that just likes to keep it more on the microdose side, you can also, we make uninfused food as well, so that you can mix that in, and you don't maybe end up with a huge amount of the psychoactive high, but you still get the experience that you want, and no matter what, you're going to feel better. That's just what happens.
No, I definitely think you guys are onto something good, like you're saying, but for a different reason, because people are always going to eat. They always have eaten, and they're always going to drink things, and
Right.
that's like drinking things is the number one way that people are most comfortable with consuming drugs. We can be fact checked on that, but if you look at coffee and alcohol, that's the way that people are most comfortable ingesting a drug.
Right.
And so like your types of events, it's just like the way you're most comfortable in ingesting something that's going to alter your way of thinking.
Right.
Or
Right.
your mood or something.
Right. Yeah, it's just that's the delivery method that works best for us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that people, if you talk to most people, there's everybody always has a bad edible experience, and so breaking through that is difficult too. They're like, no, I'm not eating it, because they had that bad 100 or 1,000 milligram brownie in high school and passed out for 3 days. And so we have to break through that too, because people will not eating that. That's going to make me crazy. And once they have a meal, because it's processed through your liver and it's processed completely differently than smoking or
properly
baking.
dosed, too.
And properly dosed, it makes a huge difference.
Have you guys, so obviously so many of your things are led with your hearts, and I know I try to do my best to lead with my heart in all my business I do, but I've definitely still had negative experiences with people or businesses in the industry. Have you guys had many? I know we've talked about some experiences you've had off camera, but are there any stories about negative experiences you have off the top of your head that you had?
I'll share one real quick. I think that it's frustrating in this industry to see when people aren't responsible and they're in it for the wrong reasons. Trying to make money off of something instead of really getting educated on how to help people that you are putting on an event for understand what they're consuming. And it can lead to a lot of people having bad experiences. So there's other chefs in this industry, and everybody's doing things a little bit differently. However, if you don't know how much THC is in the food that you're serving, the people, as we just discussed, can have that really bad experience. And I think I think we've seen that, and it's frustrating because we're trying to break through that bad experience, in people's memories.
But it could maybe ruin.
It can
for you
ruin
guys.
if the people are still out there doing that. But we have so many ways to not do that. And now, back in the day, it was harder. There were labs around that were testing our cannabis. But nowadays, there's ways to be safe about infusing your food. And there's no reason why everybody shouldn't be doing that, because we shouldn't have people out there having bad experiences and giving a bad name to all cannabis chefs, because we are very careful and we're very conscious about that. It's important to us.
Yeah. There's some great technology that's out there that helps people be able to infuse things, infusing butter, infusing oils, to be able to cook with. But there still is yet to be really accurate technology that an individual, rather than a corporation, an individual can have to be able to do their own lab testing that could tell you what type of chemicals are in this canna butter that you've made, or infused oil that you've made, or what's the level of THC, so that you can accurately microdose, or you can dose exactly what level you're comfortable with, or what you're what you have become accustomed to having infused, and that makes it very difficult for that level of accuracy if you have a chef, or you have an individual that's infusing canna butter, going through the process of decarboxylating cannabis and then infusing it into butter and using that in their food. As Anne was alluding to, that there are cannabis chefs, or people that are cooking with cannabis now for other people, where they're taking an ounce of cannabis or more than an ounce, and they're decarboxylating, infusing it into the oil or butter, using it in their food, delivering it to their guests in the food, and people come up and say, "Wow, that was really fun. How much THC did I just ingest?" And the chef is shrugging their shoulders, saying, "I don't know. I have no idea." And I think that's irresponsible.
That is definitely irresponsible.
And it's irresponsible for the chef to do that. It's irresponsible for it's not fair for the guests to have to experience that unknown. And then they go out and they're driving, and maybe something happens to them, or they impact somebody else in a state that they didn't know that they were going to be in. And then it just has this negative implosion back into the cannabis industry. And I think that people need to be aware, and they need to be conscientious about their behavior. Just as you can go to the bar and have a couple beers and know that that's my responsible level of consumption. You need to have that same level of understanding
and trust in where you're getting, where you're sourcing your cannabis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally. And I know we're kind of backtracking here, but I know that your guys' personal use and your personal stories, we kind of heard about Ivan's, but if you're comfortable sharing it, kind of like your personal story.
Sure.
About your experiences with cannabis.
So when Ivan had his stroke, I decided to try the CBD for myself, but I had addiction issues several years ago when I was younger, and I went to rehab, and not nothing to do with the cannabis, and so I had to take a period of time, honestly, to come to my own conclusion that adding cannabis in, whether it be CBD or THC, it doesn't matter, was not something that was interfering or having anything to do with my sobriety. And because a lot of people view it that way, and I had just brief kind of inner conversations about it to realize real quick that this was not anything that was jeopardizing my sobriety. So that was one aspect of it. A couple years after I went to rehab, I was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer and thyroid cancer. Looking back on it, I was really sick. I went through a lot of radiation and chemo, and come to find out now that could have given me a lot of relief. God forbid if anything were to happen in the future. I'm really excited to have the knowledge now about what cannabis is doing for cancer patients, and the people who are going through treatment, or just having cancer in and of itself is just, you lose your appetite. You do. There's a whole bunch of things that happen, but there's a lot of there's not research being done. A lot of stories out there about people who are ingesting cannabis and tumors are going away. I'm not saying that
Right.
that this is going to happen, but I'm excited just because I'm reading a lot about it. So because I have a history of cancer, this is really interesting to me, and so that's another avenue I'd like to explore. I also feel that cannabis can help people who are dealing with addiction issues. So there's a lot of things personally that I'm interested in other than seeing what it's done for me and the family, and especially
Right.
for Ivan after the stroke. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot about it that just feels really, there's so much to be done and so much to share.
Do you guys feel like you really try to help people who are going through some of the troubles you guys have gone through?
Absolutely. There are several people who have had dependencies on opioids. From there was one gentleman that we helped who had several surgeries on his neck, in his upper cervical area. He was on, I guess, a cocktail of different opioids and pharmaceutical drugs that really was kind of putting him in a stupor, to take care of the pain. And so we worked with him and put some tinctures together and staggered those up so that they started low and got to a level where he was comfortable, but really feeling that release of pain and still being very functional. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, he was fully off of his opioids.
Right.
That's cool.
And another person came up to us, and he had
some other surgery, and was the same situation, older gentleman, and he didn't want his family to know that he had developed this addiction to the opioids.
Yeah.
And so he came to us knowing that we were cooking with cannabis, and asked how, if we had any ideas. We had long talks with him, and we're not doctors and we're not diagnosing anybody, but when they come and we have some real talk and real conversation, we can come up with some ideas together about what somebody might be comfortable with, what their end goal is, based on our experience with how people have gotten relief from our foods, and come up with a game plan, and we just work together. And that's the beautiful thing about the cannabis, is that they're not going to go and overdose on it, but we can recommend based on our experience,
Right.
and that makes us feel good. Both of those people are now off of opioids.
Right. So, I mean, you think about people coming up and saying, "Hey, how are you today?" And I got a headache. Yeah, I've got some ibuprofen. Can I give you some ibuprofen? Sure, I'll take a couple ibuprofen. Well, I don't need to be a doctor to be able to offer somebody an aspirin or some ibuprofen. Mm-hmm. And because it's a low dose, it's not getting up to a morphine or some other Percocet level of medication. But it's something that helps either alleviate or sometimes even mask what that symptom is. Mm-hmm. With the cannabis plant, the microdosing, it helps people actually get through that without masking it by creating a painkiller.
Right, a pain healer.
It's a pain healer.
Mm-hmm.
Because aspirin or the ibuprofen is a painkiller, right? It takes away that pain, but it's just masking. It's the Band-Aid. The pain is still there. It's just taken away based on the
Isn't it interesting?
The medicine.
The word itself has the word "kill" in it.
Yeah.
Kind
Interesting.
of fascinating. What's been your guys' favorite part of what you've been doing in the cannabis space so far?
I love the people's reaction, knowing that they're eating something that is really delicious. We handcraft everything. If there's mustard, we make the mustard. If there's mayonnaise, we make the mayonnaise. If there's in our vegan gluten-free cookies, we use applesauce. And we make our own applesauce. So we are able to really tweak and provide really handcrafted ingredients in our food, which I think really enhances the flavor and the taste of our food. So not only are people having this delicious meal where they're not tasting the cannabis because it's microdosed, but once the cannabis that kicks in and that feeling of well-being starts to take hold, then that's where we get really happy.
Yeah.
You're producing experiences. You're not necessarily focusing on cannabis or the food. Obviously, you put a lot of thoughtfulness into those things, which is what is creating it. But for events, there was a pizza party yesterday that we just did, and you were you were cooking pizzas literally from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And you were running around the entire time, making sure guests were happy, welcoming them at the door, making sure the logistics were going on, making sure the fire pits were getting started once it got later, making sure that we're getting the content we need to get. You were a producer. You know, you guys you're making an experience for people, and you're people focused, right? You're always thinking about the customer experience or the guest experience, and that's why it's so great.
Yeah. Well, it definitely, we found our roles. I mean, Ivan is in the kitchen. That's his passion. He's been cooking since he was 12 years old. He loves what he does.
Yeah.
You know,
there's
what you do.
There's a difference between having to go to your job, working at a restaurant, and wanting to go to your job, working in a restaurant.
And you worked in a restaurant, right?
I did. That wasn't my career. I was in IT and spent 25, 30 years doing that and wasn't super happy with it. You know, if I were to go back in time, I would have been back in the kitchen. That's where I was when I was going through high school and college, working in restaurants, and I loved it. And you know, that's where my passion and creativity was. That was fun.
So you were in IT though for a long while professionally, and then you were cooking in kitchens. Yeah,
I went after the money. I figured that that's where I would be more successful is working in IT.
And you worked at Intel, right?
No,
sorry, HP.
HP
right.
and Verizon Business and some other larger companies and smaller companies as well here in San Diego.
Did it feel satisfying in comparison to what you're doing now?
No,
not making as much
not
money?
Even close. Not even 5% in that entire span of time. So it's really interesting to be back into the kitchen and doing what I'm doing. We were talking with one of our guests yesterday, and I asked her how the pizza was, and she said, you know, I've had so much of your food, nothing that I've had has tasted bad. I've loved everything. She said, and I can't think of a single restaurant that I've been to that I've loved everything that they make. And I said, well, the reason is because it comes from my heart. I want to do this.
It sounds
opposed
corny,
to having to do
but
this.
we come home and we say, are people just kidding around with us? I mean, when they say that was the
Right.
best hamburger they ever had, or best whatever, that was the best, those were the best ribs we've ever had, best salmon I've ever had, you know. And I'm thinking, I hear that so much. I mean, I don't say things lightly. I know when you're really having conversation with people to help give them, you know, some real feedback, I don't say things in those terms. I think we hear that a lot, and I really do think that people are feeling it, and what they're feeling and tasting is all of what we have put into it, and it makes a huge difference. You know, we have occasionally in the beginning when we started this business, because I you know, was in the kitchen when my kids were really little and making a lot of and cutting corners, because that's what you do. You have to carve out time, and so you end up buying the prepared dinners and things when you run out of time with kids. And that was kind of my mentality, and that's why we found our roles really early on, is that I pretty much work the behind the scenes, and Ivan is the one in the kitchen. But in the beginning, I would say things like, and maybe I've said this even recently, we won't have to talk about that, but you know, if there comes an ingredient and we don't have that homemade mustard, I will gladly say, I'll run out and get it. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it to me. We do this, and we make the time to do this. And if it takes us, you know, another extra hour to handcraft that, that's the way I'm going to do it. And so I stopped at the door when I got the keys ready to go buy something really quick, because I want to afford us time, because I'm doing the behind the scenes and I'm doing the time crunching and trying to figure out. And when you cut those corners is when people are going to figure that out and find out and taste it. And I learned that really quick with Ivan, is that no cutting corners. Every single thing is from scratch, and it's been a great lesson, and
it's
healthier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
overall, long term.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you know, California is different in the sense that you know, it's avocado toast didn't it kind of originate in California? You know, California's the, you know, avocado, the veggie, the fruity kind of people. But you know, I think that we are the state that really is the cutting edge of changes in diets, of conscious awareness in food. And unfortunately, the government doesn't do a whole lot to protect us in the kind of foods that we're eating. There's such a wide range of acceptability and acceptance in what kind of pesticides are used and what level of organic. You can think, oh, organic, it must be really good. Well, yeah, but there's a scale of plus or minus X
right.
that is
qualifying
it as being organic, and organic is probably as good as what just everyday growing was back in the 60s or early 70s.
My uncle he's a scientist, and he had a company that he sold that helps clean up chemical spills.
Uh-huh.
His least favorite word, he has two, but one of them is organic.
Yeah.
That's
what
does that mean? It's
what does that
an
mean?
organic tomato?
Right.
Humans are organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
He
It's
hates
so
it.
overused.
He hates it. He also hates the word community, which is, very...
He can't hate that word.
He hates
but-
that word
okay.
because of communes. I think he's got something
Oh.
specific that he dislikes about it. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's used so much.
It's overused. Natural. What does that mean anymore? Everyone knew that got really overused.
Isn't
Yeah.
cyanide natural?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have to be careful with the words that we use. We want to get across, we are using high quality ingredients. There's no doubt about it. If you have a dinner of ours, yes, we are going to be a little bit higher than if you start shopping around. You're going to find that our prices are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot to show for that.
You're bringing an experience. It's not just the food.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all of it, and the high quality ingredients. We aren't just saying that.
Right. And we probably would be an accountant's nightmare if they were looking at an accountant that works for a company and looking at how much margin and profit that we would make. We just use what we feel is right, and we look at what we're making, and we probably donate our time 90% of the time into the event that we're cooking for.
Sure.
And maybe we charge for the actual cost of the food because we use the high ingredients in that.
Right.
But I think that there's a real problem when you could go to the store to buy a head of broccoli, and a head of broccoli costs more than a Happy Meal at McDonald's. And so when you have the family that's on a budget and they've got 3 kids, and for them to go out and get some good healthy food that is organic or not organic, and it costs more than it would for them, just to buy broccoli, a vegetable, it costs more to do that than to get a Happy Meal. I think most people, from a time consumption, from a simplicity standpoint, from the cost, they're going to look at McDonald's as being a solution. Hey, I can get a protein, I can get
It's
I
the
can get all of
short-term
my food
tactical
groups.
fix.
Exactly. But it's not doing any benefit for the children that are eating that food, and it's just creating longer-term problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, health issues in the end. So something's really wrong with the food industry right now, making organic, whatever that means, a lot more expensive to get.
Yeah.
And having something like that.
Yeah.
Just
Are you
so
guys-
blatant, like
are you-
99-cent tacos. Why not go for a taco? Why are we going to go?
And are you guys trying to combat that anyway? I know it's hard for you not having a ton of capital or anything, but
Right. I wish that we could. It's I don't know about the cost factor, but I just think that if we can help people see that eating healthy is not that difficult, and the taste difference is huge, and how you feel afterwards is a world of difference. And if you eat a Big Mac versus a really simple, we make our
Right.
own hamburgers from scratch, but it doesn't take that much longer either.
We don't kill the cow and
Well, no, but I
grind
mean,
up the beef.
no, but they're a lot healthier version.
Right. But we look at a vegan diet, and we look at a vegetarian, and we look at a gluten-free diet, and we look at keto and paleo and all of the different things that seem to be kind of trending now. But they're really more trending. They're moving into that's the norm.
Yeah.
Getting away from this highly refined, highly processed
Diet.
flour and diet, and getting back into more, just a more sustainable.
yeah,
type
strategic
of-
diets, not
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fun,
And
quick, easy
locally
to-
sourced is we like to say that we are locally sourced, that we buy everything local. I think that what we mean by that is that we want to support local. It's important for us to support the people that are in our community. But if the quality is better elsewhere, then we're going to go where the quality is, as opposed to getting something simply because it's local.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, like, where you guys see, we kind of touched on it earlier, but like, where's the end goal or the foreseeable future coming up for Mangia Ghanja and Wood's Kitchen and your guys' business and helping people?
Sometimes that's a difficult question to answer, because we have so much that we want to offer, and yet we look at our age and how much time we feel that we can comfortably put into this and continue putting into this. I think that we've got another good 10 years to put into this. And maybe it'll slow down to where we're just doing a couple events per year. But we've got food products that we want to be able to bring to market. And when the laws start to relax and change a little bit, then we will. It just right now is we are positioning ourselves where people are trying our food. They're loving our food. The feedback has been amazing. And then now we would simply need to transition into packaging and being able to get our products out to the mainstream. So a lot of us, it's a little bit like a baseball game, hurry up and wait. So we're doing what we can. We have our secondary business called Wood's Kitchen Foods, and that's all of our good quality food that we make for Mangia Ghanja that just doesn't have any cannabis in it. And so we have products that we are bringing to market now. But as it's just the two of us, it's difficult. It's difficult to run two businesses and put as much time into
Each of them as they need.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's tricky. But it's all based around these cannabis laws. If we could just strictly stick with cannabis in our food, however that looks, whether it be in a product or doing events or private dinners or any kinds of those kinds of things, I think that we would. That fills our soul, and that makes us most happy when we're able to educate and help people have these great experiences. That's what we love doing. As long as we can keep doing that, whether that be locally or worldwide, we're going to go wherever it's calling us. And we had thought at the beginning of the year that it's time to focus on Wood's Kitchen. Let's get some of our products that our Mangia Ghanja guests and customers have always asked about. Let's get our vegan gluten-free cookies out there. Let's get our sauces up. And we've been working hard on that. And the end of last year was a big push to get Wood's Kitchen the website up and get our labels done, and we did. And we thought we're going to go into the first of the year and we're going to just really focus on Wood's Kitchen. And all of a sudden Mangia Ghanja came. We thought, Mangia Ghanja is going to go to sleep for a while, but then we all of a sudden got the phone started ringing, and Wood's Kitchen was the one who went to sleep. So we're just going where it speaks to us, and whatever it feels like we need to be focusing on is where we're going. And maybe that doesn't always make sense, for business, but it's where we're following our hearts, and it's where we're able to do that at this point in our life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have those choices that we can make.
Yeah, we're fortunate that way. We have the ability to do what we want to be doing and not necessarily focusing on driving a business. Yes, we're driving a business, but we're doing it on our terms as opposed to the terms of growing a traditional business where we have to get our operations and our sales and our logistics and the driving force moving forward. We're doing what really feeds our soul.
Right. And so for that reason, I think that's why people, when they talk to us, feel that genuine side to us, is because we aren't over here focused on building a business. We have to have this done. Yes, we have goals, and we have behind the scenes we're organized in that way, but we do have that bit of room.
Yeah.
And I think it feels genuine to us.
And there's certain things that are really important to us. So the fact that statistically on average 23 veterans are committing suicide on a daily basis because of PTSD issues, that's a big deal. That I have a son who's a captain in the Army. And I don't want to see him going down that road, and I don't want to see other people going down that road. So we're willing to give our time and our food at our cost for those organizations as often as we can. And we do that. We donate our time and our food. So
and to cancer patients and to whoever needs it.
And that's another beautiful thing about the cannabis plant is that, cancer patients traditionally, when you're going through chemo or radiation, you lose your appetite. So cannabis is wonderful because it can be an appetite stimulant. And then there are people who are elderly that maybe are in a nursing home. And when you have been in a nursing home visiting someone there, you hear a lot of elderly people, a lot of them wailing. That's just what happens when you get older. Sometimes, it's very noisy, and so a lot of elderly people in nursing homes don't sleep very well. So cannabis is a great way of being able to help them sleep. With an indica. So there are many beautiful things about the plant that can be very medicinal and very healing and just very integrated into an individual's daily life in a very natural, normal way.
And we want to help get the word out about this, because I think a lot of seniors are taking, they're perking up now. So it doesn't necessarily fit into our business model, but I guess what we're saying is that we have a lot of passions that drive us to get up and do this every single day. And how does that look in a business? It's not real formal. It's just we sometimes get a phone call and we're in the car to go deliver some cannabis infused food to somebody who's suffering. And that makes us feel good.
I think that is part of business, though. That's the small nuances that make a good company a great company. Doing that extra 300% to just make sure this extra person felt a little bit cared for and special, And I know I felt that way yesterday, even being a videographer at your event, and I felt like I was, part of the crew that was putting on the event. So I didn't feel like I'm there to necessarily go and be that person that's like really taking in the event and enjoying it to the fullest potential, because I want to make sure it's running well too. And so I just dropped once. I was like, yeah, I've only eaten a slice of pizza. And I went and I sat down and I was talking to someone, and within 2 minutes there was a slice of pizza being delivered to me from Ivan by Morgan. Yeah. And I was just like, that was awesome. Even when I know already how great that you guys can treat people, and that I know how great you are, you still with no expectation will continue to give to people. And that's what shows like the true testament of your guys' color. The people that still know you after time, and you're still treating them with that extra 300%. Yeah. So I know. Well, I appreciate that, and I know it resonates with the people that are at your events for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's nice to hear.
I think we got a little bit of that feedback yesterday, is that we just feel really taken care of and loved. I mean, everything from the handful of vendors that we had there, all the way down to brand new guests that we had never met. We just got that kind of feedback, and that's what we love. That feeds our soul. That's why we're doing this.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add or talk about?
Covered it all. What about you?
Thank you for being on the Bongcast, guys.
Yeah,
thank you for having me in your space and having Leigh and I over.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Always. Thank you.
Super excited for the future, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Me too.
And cut! Yo, cannabis lovers, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Mangia Ghanja. I know I always enjoy hanging out with them. Thank you, Ann and Ivan, for sharing your stories with me, having me in your space, and giving me your time. I truly appreciate and love you both. Be sure to follow them on their Cannabis Chef journey on Instagram at Mangia Ghanja. That's at MANGIA_GHANJA at Mangia Ghanja. And be sure to follow their other account, Woods Kitchen, which is at Woods Kitchen Foods. That's at WOODS Kitchen Foods. Be sure to follow Cottonmouth Media on Instagram as well, and the Bongcast on Instagram. And man, you gotta try their vegan gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. Damn, those things are good. Thanks for listening or watching or whatever it is you did to this podcast, but I'm glad you did it. And I hope to see you or hear you in the next episode. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next Cottonmouth Podcast. Adios.
Yeah. Baby girl, you're so damn fine, though. Wanna know if I can hit it from behind, though. I'm sipping on you like some fine wine, though. When it's over, I press rewind.
So how do you start these things?
Teach. I've got a hangover. Who knows what that means? Take 2. Mustache. Game strong. But like, did you like it? Maybe it was good. Maybe I should have just kept it the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right, Matthew? Come on. All right, I really got to go eat lunch. So, goodbye. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to. That's for sure. Be sure to follow the Bongcast on Instagram because at MANG. Is that it? Let me check. Yeah, that was it. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen. Au revoir. Goodbye. I don't know other languages than those ones. Adieu. No, I think that was still French. Follow me on TikTok at Cottonmouth Media. Fun stuff, but no cannabis stuff. TikTok doesn't like that. Don't do it. Movember going strong, baby. You know that tune? Dude, if it wasn't for a copyright, I would just throw that shit right on. When it's over, I press rewind.
Cottonmouth Media.